In the whole shadowy history of Hollywood, there's one name that just echoes louder than any other. It's a story wrapped up in glamour, just absolute brutality, and a mystery that has stumped investigators for, well over 75 years. Today, we're diving deep into the legend of the Black Dahlia. But before that infamous nickname, before all the gruesome headlines, there was a person, Elizabeth Short. At just 22, she was one of so many young women drawn to post-war Hollywood, chasing those dreams of the silver screen. People said she was mysterious, beautiful, and she was tragically about to become a legend for all the wrong reasons.
So how in the world did this one single, horrific crime just completely captivate a nation, stump the police, and leave this permanent, dark stain on the whole glittering fantasy of Hollywood? Well, let's get into it.
To really understand the legend, we have to start right at the brutal beginning. So, picture this. It's a quiet neighborhood in Los Angeles. A cool January morning, not even 2 years after the end of World War II. The city's booming, everyone's optimistic, and they are completely unaware of the horror that's about to be uncovered. What's so chilling about this discovery is just how precise it was. A local mom, Betty Berzinger, is out walking and sees what she honestly thinks is a broken mannequin. But it's not. It's the body of a woman, sliced cleanly into at the waist. She'd been completely drained of blood, washed, and then posed. And in this final sadistic signature move, the killer had carved a grotesque, ear-to-ear smile under her face.
I mean, the crime was so shocking, so theatrical, that the press immediately latched onto it. This headline from the Los Angeles Examiner, it wasn't just reporting a crime, it was creating a monster in the public's imagination. It really tapped into this post-war fear that a dark underbelly was lurking just beneath the city's sunny surface.
And what does a media frenzy really look like? It looks like this number, 35. That's how many days in a row the Examiner kept this story on its front page. The public just could not get enough, and the line between reporting the news and actually becoming part of the story was about to get very, very blurry.
So with the public just gripped by fear and, let's be honest, fascination, the first step for the police was simple but urgent. Who was this woman?
And this moment right here perfectly shows you the wild role the press played. So the LAPD's standard procedure was to airmail fingerprints to the FBI, a process that could take days. But the Examiner had this new piece of tech, a sound photo machine. They basically faxed the prints over telephone lines and got a positive ID in under an hour, scooping every single police department and newspaper in the country.
And just like that, the mannequin in the vacant lot had a name. She was Elizabeth Short, 22 years old, from a little town in Massachusetts. Turns out, the FBI had her prints on file from a minor arrest for underage drinking a few years back. The mystery now had a face.
So with a name and a face, all the press needed was a nickname that would grab headlines, and they landed on the Black Dahlia, which was a dark play on a popular film noir at the time called the Blue Dahlia. There was a rumor that Elizabeth liked to wear black, and the name just stuck. It was moody, mysterious, and absolutely perfect for the Hollywood myth they were busy creating.
Okay, so with the name, the police could finally start investigating. But they immediately slammed into a wall, a huge block of missing time.
Investigators pieced together her last known days pretty quickly. She'd been staying with friends down in San Diego, then hitched a ride to LA with a salesman named Robert Manley. He drops her off in the lobby of the fancy Biltmore Hotel on January 9th, and then nothing. For 6 whole days until her body was found on the 15th, Elizabeth Short just completely vanished.
So, you know the first thing police are going to do, right? Talk to the last person who saw her alive. All eyes immediately turned to Robert Manley.
So Manley, who was a married salesman, admitted he was with her, but he swore he just dropped her at the hotel and went straight home. And his alibi was solid. His wife and some friends confirmed he was with them. The cops gave him 2 polygraph tests, but the results were kind of wishy-washy. With no real evidence to hold him, they had to let him go. And just like that, their best lead vanished. Just as the investigation was hitting a dead end, the case took a bizarre and, honestly, a deeply disturbing turn. The killer decided he wanted to join the conversation.
First, a man calls the editor of the Examiner, claims to be the killer, and offers to mail them Elizabeth's stuff. Then a package actually shows up. That was followed by a bunch of chilling letters.
one signed by the Black Dahlia Avenger, promising he'd turn himself in. Of course, he never did. Instead, he sent another note just mocking the police. This guy wasn't just hiding, he was playing a game.
Now, the package itself was a potential gold mine for leads. Inside were personal photos, her birth certificate, and even a claim check for some luggage she'd stored. But the most important item, by far, was an address book. It had over 75 names in it, basically a Rolodex of Elizabeth Short's life, and, police were hoping, a direct line to her killer.
And one name literally stood out. The name Mark Hansen, a local nightclub owner, was embossed right there on the cover. So police brought him in for some really intense questioning. He admitted he knew Elizabeth. She'd even lived in his house for a little while. But just like with Manley, they couldn't find a single piece of evidence linking him to the murder. And another really promising lead turned into yet another dead end.
So with all the leads exhausted, the official investigation just stalled. But the story was just getting started.
I mean, here's the simple, frustrating fact of this whole thing. The case was never solved. Over the next decade, hundreds of people were investigated, but the LAPD never made a single arrest for the murder of Elizabeth Short. The trail went cold and has stayed that way ever since. But the case left behind this powerful legacy. The sheer horror of the crime actually pushed California to create the nation's first sex offender registry. The murder has inspired countless books and movies, becoming a total cornerstone of the true crime genre. And that name, Black Dahlia, has become permanent shorthand for the dark, predatory side of Hollywood ambition.
Which leaves us with this final, haunting question. With every single person of interest from that time now long gone, is it even possible for this mystery to be solved? Or is the identity of the Black Dahlia's killer destined to remain Hollywood's darkest secret forever?